All right, what's going on, boys? Keg back here with another UFC Fight Night main event video breakdown. And this week, I'm not going to lie to you, we had a great week last week, but this is a pretty subpar card from both an entertainment perspective, and also I think it's a really tough card from a value perspective, to be honest with you. So most of the fights tomorrow night are either A, lined perfectly where they should be, where there really isn't any value on either side, or B, the value that you find really isn't enough to get you to the place that you want to go. So it's a pretty tough card. And these shitty cards tend to happen after a massive UFC pay-per-view. And that's pretty much exactly what we see here. Last weekend, I took a look at the numbers. The UFC brought in about 1.8 million pay-per-view buys to watch Conor McGregor basically shit the bed and break his ankle in like 80 spots. But that's okay. It's all right. We cashed. Joey did the video last week because I had to run out. I had a family thing. He cashed that ticket. I cashed my ticket on the spreadsheet. So we had a good night. Really entertaining last weekend, full of fights. And now fast forward a week, and you know, and this tends to happen with every single pay-per-view card, especially the biggest pay-per-view cards of the year. The McGregor pay-per-view card at UFC 264 will literally be the most pay-per-views by sold for one event all year, right? So what we're left over with is like the shitty pot roast leftovers that you didn't want to eat in high school when your mom put it on the table. That's basically where we are this week. So tomorrow night's main event pretty much makes no sense. I mean, the only reason why the fight's happening is there isn't anybody in the top 10 right now in the lightweight division that's willing to fight Islam Makhachev, really. I mean, that's why. The entire top 10 think that, you know, they have way too much to lose against a guy that will probably fight and possibly win a world championship, not this year, probably late 2022, but he's on pace for sure. Now, Islam Makhachev, you know, we all know he was Khabib's training partner for years. It's basically the closest thing that we've seen to Khabib Nurmagomedov since he's been gone. Now, you know, is Islam Makhachev Khabib Nurmagomedov? No, he's not. Okay. But all that being said, he is a devastating grappler, and Khabib and his father, before he passed away, molded this kid into a world-class championship-level fighter. Now, it's probably going to take him a year, probably more than that, 18 months, to end up getting a title fight, considering nobody in the top 10 is going to fight him right now. But eventually, he's going to fight for a title, because there aren't many people in the top 10 that could beat him right now. So I think at some point, Islam Makhachev is going to fight for a title. And, you know, it's basically for all the same reasons that Khabib Nurmagomedov is great. Makhachev's got suffocating wrestling, right? Which was Khabib's calling card for a decade. He has incredible top control, just like Khabib. He's got really sound ground and pound, and he could basically grab a submission from top control from anywhere on the ground. And now his cardio seems good in 3-round fights, But I'm interested to see how this first 5-round fight in the UFC is going to go, because it could be a little concerning. We've seen him slightly tail off towards the end of the third round. You know, if you add another 10 minutes in there, could he get tired? I mean, I guess it's possible. I mean, Magomed Sharipov sure gets tired, right? But I think that Islam Makhachev is probably a little bit more well-sound in terms of cardio. But nevertheless, I'm interested to see what's going to happen in his first 5-round fight in the UFC. His fight IQ thus far through 20 fights, including what he's done on the regional scene, has been nothing short of spectacular. It's basically impeccable. His striking, while it's not elite, it's solid. You know what I mean? His hands are decent enough that you need to be careful that you don't get caught by him. But with that said, he doesn't have the hands that the elite 155 pounders in the UFC have. He doesn't have hands like Poirier. He doesn't have hands like Justin. He doesn't have hands like Charlie Olives or Michael Chandler, and probably not even Beneil Dariush, if we're being fair. So, you know, his strongest asset is what Khabib's strongest asset was on the ground. So, but nevertheless, I think that he has slightly better hands than Khabib did, so he can catch you. But if we're stacking his striking up against the elite 155 pounders in the world right now, it doesn't stack up. There are 6 or 7 guys currently in the top 10 that probably have better striking than Islam Makhachev. But nevertheless, it's that Dagestani way, bro. You know, they just maul you. They wrestle fuck you to death. And that's how they beat you. That's what they do. You know what I mean? Now, we can get into the nuances and the differences between what Islam Makhachev and Khabib Nurmagomedov does. You know, Khabib was always down to grab a single leg, right? He always had those power double leg takedowns, as opposed to the way that Islam Makhachev tries to get you to the ground, which is much more like trips from against the cage, judo throws. But, you know, I digress. Nevertheless, long story short, he's world class at what he does. And he's going to try to implement that same game plan that he always does tomorrow night against Thiago Moises. Now, will it work? We're going to find out. As far as Thiago Moises, you know, he's an excellent grappler. His submission game is really strong. Aside from that, we've seen him be incredibly durable in most of his fights, which should help him tomorrow night. His fight IQ is not great, but it appears to be above average, which I guess that's all you can ask for a guy that's not in the top 10. As far as his striking, I think that Thiago Moises' striking has improved a ton since the first time that we saw him in the UFC, especially his counter check hooks. Lately, if you go back, if you watch the tape on his last few fights in the cage, he's had some really perfectly timed counter check hooks, and they always seem to carry power when he throws them, right? So, you know, I think that in striking exchanges, in the heat of the battle, I think that he's live to possibly catch Islam Makhachev with something, you know what I mean, to tap the chin. Now, if there was one thing that I think could be an issue for Thiago Moises on Saturday, he has struggled before against competent southpaw fighters. And I'm talking about even in the fights that he's won, he was getting destroyed on the feet by Michael Johnson before Thiago Moises was able to catch him in a sick ankle lock, which eventually made Michael Johnson tap out, and Moises ended up winning the fight. But all that said, if you go back and watch that Michael Johnson-Thiago Moises fight, I mean, Michael Johnson was lighting him up like fucking New Year's Eve in Times Square. I mean, he was really putting it on him big time. But, you know, like I said, Moises is a really competent grappler. He's got great submissions. He was able to catch Michael Johnson in an ankle lock. Michael Johnson was forced to tap, and he ended up getting the win. He also struggled against Bobby Green. And it really appears to be his striking defense that suffers against southpaws. And it could end up being an issue here against Islam Makhachev because he's a southpaw. You know, is he as good striking as Michael Johnson? No. He might not even be as good a striker as Bobby Green, if we're being fair to Bobby Green. But nevertheless, Thiago Moises has struggled against southpaws. So it could be an issue tomorrow for him. That's concerning. Now, as far as the odds are concerned, I'm not going to lie, man. They seem slightly ridiculous to me. We all understand that it's borderline insulting right now that Islam Makhachev can't get a top 8 guy right now at 155 pounds to fight him, right? We get it. I get it. And honestly, he shouldn't be fighting somebody like Thiago Moises, because if we're being fair to what Islam Makhachev has already done in the UFC, he has passed that caliber of opponent already. He should be checking the boxes off right now against top 8 competition, right? But even with all that said, I don't think he should be minus 700 in this fight. And that's what it looks like the market has pushed this line up to right now. Now, I don't want to say to you guys, oh, dog or pass spot. You know, you either take Thiago Moises or pass the fight. I don't want to say that because I think that Islam Makhachev wins the fight, and probably in dominant fashion. However, if we're just talking about the line value in this fight, it probably lies with Thiago Moises right now at plus a nickel, plus 480, whatever you see the price out there right now. But here's the thing. Thiago Moises isn't getting my money tomorrow night. I'll tell you that right now. I don't care if he's plus 800. He's not getting my money tomorrow night. So, with all that said, if you want to bet the fight, how do you approach it, right? That's the question. And in my opinion, there's really only 2 options. You either A, bank on the durability of Thiago Moises, right, and hope that he can go a full 5 rounds, and you take Islam Makhachev by decision at plus 115, which is an option. You could do that. Or you focus on the time props and the round props. And that's what I chose to do. You either take the over 1.5, the over 2.5, 3.5, 4.5 rounds. I really don't see any other way that you can approach the fight. Now, we have a few UFC bets on the Run Pure Bet spreadsheet for this weekend right now, but only one of them is mine, and it involves this fight, so I might as well give it out to you guys. I might add one more play, but I'm not sure yet. I'm still undecided on what I believe is probably the best underdog on the card tomorrow. But regardless, I bet a parlay and I tied the round prop in the main event to it. I think that Daniel Rodriguez should cruise tomorrow as a minus 300 favorite against Parsons. I just think he's better everywhere. So I parlayed Rodriguez money line at which was minus 300 with the over 1.5 rounds in the Thiago Moises Islam Makhachev fight. And when I put it on the spreadsheet, it was minus 140, which is crazy chalk for me. Ordinarily, I don't lay chalk like that. I had 5 plays up on the sheet for UFC 264. All 5 of them were plus money. So I try to avoid laying minus 140 chalk if I can. But I got to tell you, man, I mean, minus 140, what's that, 58.3%? Somewhere around there. I could check the implied probability odds calculator, but I want to say it's somewhere around 58.3%. I think that cashes 70% of the time. I think Daniel Rodriguez is going to win tomorrow, and I think the main event's going over 1.5 rounds. The problem is I bet it at minus 140. Right now, it's like minus 153. So if you don't want to lay that, you could, instead of taking over 1.5 rounds, you could take Rodriguez money line and over 2.5 rounds in the main event. And that's going to get you to minus 105. Now, gun to my head, I think we're going to see the 4th round in this main event. I think that there's a chance that somewhere in the 4th round, if Thiago Moises tires out, maybe Islam Makhachev could get a finish 4th round or 5th round. But I think we're going to see the 4th round in this fight. Based on how both these guys fight, based on the fact that I think Makhachev's going to get whatever takedowns that he wants, I think we're going to cruise through the first 15 minutes. And then after that, I'm not really sure what's going to go down. So I think if you don't want to lay the minus right now, it would be like minus 153 on Rodriguez and over 1.5 rounds. You could just take Rodriguez and over 2.5 rounds, which is close to even money. It's about minus 105. And I think it's the best angle on the card, man. I really do. I don't see how Rodriguez loses, and I don't see how this fight doesn't go over 1.5 rounds. I really don't. Now, the underdog that I was talking about, excuse me, fucking my throat's a mess. The underdog that I was talking about was Billy Quarantillo. He opened up a minus 138 favorite against Gabriel Benitez. I thought at the opener it was a little high. I thought that the fight should be closer to Quarantillo minus 115 and Gabriel Benitez minus 105. Okay? Now, since the opener, there has been a massive line move. Quarantillo went from minus 138, shot up to plus 170, and now is coming back down. You can get him at like plus 140. I missed the line at plus 170. I probably should have pulled the trigger at that point, and I just missed it. But even right now, there is 80 cents of line value on Billy Quarantillo from the opening line when this line opened. And I think he should be a slight favorite in the fight. I don't understand the odds in this fight at all. So I think he's a solid underdog look tomorrow. I haven't put it on the spreadsheet yet. I've been staring at it all fucking week. I'm not sure if I'm going to. But it'll at least be a personal bet at plus 140. I'm probably gonna hop on it, and those will probably be my only two bets on the card for tomorrow. Quarantillo at the dog price, and this parlay that I just gave out, Rodriguez money line, and the over 1.5 in the Makhachev fight. If you don't want to lay that because the line's moved, you just throw the over 2.5 rounds with Rodriguez, and you'll get it at about minus 105. And that, my friends, is it. Tomorrow, JJ is going to have the MLB Best Bet Show. Spread and Tyler are going to have the NBA rundown for Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Tomorrow, Coop and I are going to do a NASCAR pre-race picks video for Loudon. And then at 7 o'clock, I'll be live all night for UFC Fight Night. Spread's going to come on, and he's going to hang out for the first half of the NBA Finals. And then Sunday morning, JJ will be live with Joey and Holden doing what they do. And then Sunday afternoon, me and Coop are going to be live all day betting NASCAR. So it's a normal Rum Pure Bets weekend here. If you guys want to join, use the promo code BETS25 off. You'll get 25% off the first month, which will cost you $45 instead of $60. And other than that, regardless of what you guys bet this weekend, I hope your action runs pure. Hope you guys crush it. And I will see you guys back here tomorrow afternoon. Aside from that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Later.